So we are in conversation with mind and body transformation coach Morunga Mungo, and she's here to speak to us about her journey with suffering with bulimia. Morunga, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm hoping we'll speak even more than just about your suffering with bulimia and the journey, but also how you're now helping other people. Your relationship with food, because a lot of us actually struggle with that. I know I've struggled with that for 10 years now, and I think it's still going on, this love-hate relationship with food. Tell us about yours.
So currently, my relationship with food is fairly healthy, and I never thought I'd get here. Actually, it took me a long time. It took a lot of steps and processes to get here, but we're finally here. I'm finally at a point where I can say I've eaten. I'm enough. It's okay, and if I want to eat a slice of chocolate, I don't beat myself up about it. When I was growing up, it was fairly healthy, primary school. It changed grade 8, grade 9, and I think purely because of everything that I experienced at home, and then also just being aware of yourself in high school. All the girls are looking snatched, and you're just like, what's wrong with me? But it doesn't help that you go home, and you're also still not okay at home. So that's when my relationship with food changed, and it became a coping mechanism for me. But now it is great. Love food. We get each other.
You get along quite well.
Yes.
But let's talk about then the importance of training the mind, because then it sounds like something that is very mentally taxing. If you constantly need to be questioning yourself and questioning what you eat, and the guilt afterwards, like if you've set your mind at, I'm not going to eat cake today, and then you get home, it's somebody's birthday, and then you eat cake, the amount of guilt that you feel. So how do you train your mind to get to the point where you are now, and you can smile about your relationship with food?
Yeah. I think it's a thing of deciding that it is just food. It's fuel that's just meant to keep you going. That's just meant to give you energy to move from one step, or one process, or one part of your day to another. But we end up using this thing as a weapon against ourselves. We end up using it as how do I feel about myself now? If I eat a salad, I feel great about myself. If I eat cake, I feel horrible. It shouldn't be that. It's fuel. You put fuel in your car so your car can move, not so you can decide that, oh, my car looks good today, oh, my car looks fresh today. No, it needs fuel so it can move.
And how important then is moderation when it comes to food?
Too much of anything is bad for you, even if it's a good thing. And I like that you mentioned moderation, because if I'm saying to someone, you need to be okay with whatever you ate, then they think eating cake for the whole week is fine.
Right.
Which it's not. You need to make sure that you keep your body going. Your heart needs to be beating and beating fairly healthy, right? Your mind requires certain things to keep it going. Protein is extremely important, not because you want muscles, but for your brain to function the way it's supposed to function, right? And that's why it's important for you to have moderation throughout. Your veggies, your fruits, your protein. Don't go too much to the other side. You know, it's important
because that's what
to always
we tend to do.
Yes.
You will go on a high protein diet, a low carb, or even no carb diet, or you will go on a high fat diet and a low carb diet. So how do you then make sure that you are at least eating from all of the food groups and still attaining the results that you want to attain if, for instance, you are on a mission to lose weight? Because I find sometimes we want a quick fix.
Yeah.
You want to, if there's something happening in December and it's September now or October now, you want to lose weight now so you look great for December. What are the dangers of doing that?
I personally don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I want to look a certain way in December, right?
Definitely.
There's nothing wrong with it. But I think you need to personally, firstly, know your body, because bodies are not the same. Like, for instance, with me, I suggest that other people eat oats for breakfast. It's healthy. It makes me bloated. I don't know how, but it makes me bloated. So I know my body. So you need to know your body, right? Secondly, you need to do it in a healthy way. If you are going to say, it's September now, I want to look a certain way in December, it's definitely doable. But if you're going to do it by looking yourself in the mirror and hating yourself every morning, then don't do that. That's not the healthy way. But if you're doing it because you're calorie counting, you're exercising, you're drinking your water, you're sleeping, rest is extremely important, and you were still loving yourself and you're still being nice to yourself within that process, then you can do that. You can give yourself a 2-month target, a 3-month target. But it's important that you are nice to yourself in your head more than anything else.
What did you find were some of those triggers for you when you were bulimic?
My triggers, firstly, childhood traumas. I had a lot of childhood traumas, and it didn't help that the things that I experienced as a child were actually not stopping. They were following me into adulthood. Sure. So you get to a point in life where you feel like, no, I'm okay now. I have a job now. I have my car now. I have, everything else is going fine. But there's this thing that I was supposed to have dealt with when I was young that is still following me. And food becomes your drug of choice. It becomes that thing that, because other people use alcohol, they use cocaine.
Tell me then about that feeling. Someone could be watching at home and they probably relate. That feeling that you would get once you've eaten, that will then lead you to saying, I think I need to throw up now. Tell me about that.
You know what was difficult for me is it was terrible before I ate. It was a lot better after I ate because I could just ignore it and go to bed and pretend like it didn't happen. But before I ate, it just felt like I have no control. I can't cope. I need to do this now. I need to fix it now. Where is the food? How am I going to deal with this thing? Yeah. It has to happen now. And then after it happens, you just pretend like, okay, as much as I felt a lot of shame and embarrassment, but I could sleep. I could quickly sleep so that I can ignore what just happened.
Sure. Yeah. I actually relate because I went through a similar thing with weight, where I just moved from being a very small person who's like a size 26, 28, and then suddenly I found myself at the 38s and the 40s. So for me, I also found myself, I would also like binge eat, and then in front of my friends we'd all be eating, and then I'd go to my room and just feel like the worst person ever. What do we need to do then, Morongwa, as families, particularly Batu Babatu, when it comes to food disorders? How do we navigate around it and then help the people that we see are suffering with an eating disorder?
I think firstly we need to acknowledge that it's a thing that exists. It's not an alien that's out in space. It's not an American trend. It's a thing that many of us are living with, right? And then secondly, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not a food problem. People with eating disorders don't have a food problem. There's either a trauma that was not dealt with, there's body image issues that are happening there, maybe someone was molested, there's a pain that they're trying to mask, right? So the more we get comfortable with talking about things, doesn't matter what it is, but we need to get comfortable with talking about things as people, as Black people. And then after that, we can then say, okay, you look like something is not right. How do we then assist you? Because if I got molested and at home I can't tell anyone about it, and I can't take cocaine, I can't take nyaupe, the only thing that's there is food. I am going to run to food. But remember, I'm running to food because of the molestation. But if I can speak about the molestation, if I can get assistance for that, then I don't need to find a coping mechanism. And I think that's where our problem is. We need to get comfortable with talking about things.
Morongwa, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Stay with us. We're back in conversation with Morongwa Mongo here on The Morning Show. We're speaking about her journey with suffering with bulimia and how she overcame that. She is a body and mind transformation coach. Morongwa, thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you.
Let's get into your story now, Morongwa. What was that breaking point for you that actually just made you realize that you have a serious problem?
It was when I was scared to go home. I got to a point where I could control it in public. I could control it at work, but I couldn't control it when I was alone. And I got frightened about going home. So on some days I tell myself, self-control, I have this, and I'll get off where I'm supposed to get off. But then I'll take a long walk to Pick n Pay to go buy food and then go back home with it and just eat, right? And then on some days I would have no power. So I just let the taxi go and just drop me off at Pick n Pay because already it's gonna happen. Yeah. but knocking off at work, and I knew what was going to happen when I got home, and I was terrified about going home. That's when I knew that I have a problem.
So, what were some of those things that you did to try and get rid of all of this food that you binged on?
For the most part, it was laxatives. There's no herbal tea that I haven't tried. There's no laxative that I haven't tried. I think also being exposed to social media and the people that promote bulimia as if it's a weight loss product. It's fashionable.
Yes.
I remember at some point I tried vomiting, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But laxatives, I was just like, I'm gonna eat this. I know how to get rid of it.
Sure. And after that, would you then feel satisfied and be able to go to work? Or what thought would you have? Or would it be one of those where you're like, today is the last day I'm doing this. Tomorrow I'm not doing this.
Every other day was the last day, especially after you take the laxative and you feel like everything is out of my system and you're like, I'm clean, I'm fresh. That did not happen. Last night did not happen. It is never happening again. No. It's happening again tonight. Skawa.
And then you told a friend, Murunga. Tell us about that.
I didn't tell a friend because I felt like, it's time. What happened is it was one of those nights where, so with me, I know a lot of people that struggle with bulimia, there's something that feels like it's an enemy, whether it's sugar, donuts, whatever. For me, it was pizza. I could not go to bed until I ate that. It felt like it's another person in the room calling me and saying, Ejo, what's happening? I thought you and I get along.
Come get me.
Come get me. So my friend came to visit on a Saturday morning and the boxes were there. The boxes of pizza were there. At that point, I could have decided to say to her, it's boxes from the past 2 weeks. I just haven't thrown them out. But at that point, also because of the friendship that we've built, that the more I told her about my mess, the more she told me about her mess. So I just felt like, no, it's safe. It's a safe space for me. So I eventually told her that this is what I'm struggling with, and I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
And the work that you then decided you're going to engage in for you to be able to start your journey of getting out of this and start your journey of healing. Tell us about that.
It took 3 things. Firstly, it took therapy. One thing therapy will do for you is teach you how to cope, give you healthy coping mechanisms, because bulimia is an unhealthy coping mechanism, right? And another thing that therapy will do is teach you how to talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself, right? So it took tons of therapy. And then secondly, for me personally, because I'm Christian, it took a lot of prayer and it took a lot of fasting. What prayer did for me is that it told me something different than what was in my head. It made me believe that there's someone out there that thinks better of me than what I think of myself. I knew that if I sit here and say I am horrible, God does not think that about me. And so because I could hold on to what he thinks about me, it really helped a lot. And then the third thing was journaling. I journaled a lot. I remember in the week where I decided enough is enough, I had to take an A3 paper, write down all the lies that were playing in my head and put them on a wall so I can face them. Because facing them while they're in your head is impossible. Yeah. But when you can see them, you can see that, no, Maga, this is a lie. So those 3 things really helped for me.
And then you decided you're going to help other people with their fitness and health journey. Tell us about that.
So in 2017, I decided I was going to register with Focus Fitness Academy. And at that point, I think in my journey, I learned that a lot of us are not carrying physical weight, we're carrying emotional weight. Yeah. And I wanted a way to assist someone to deal with their mind before they can actually see the physical transformation. And that's why my business is named Mind Body Transformation, because what I'm trying to do is let us fix the mind first and then deal with the body, and so you can transform the rest of your life. It's been an interesting journey. I actually had a client where I had to tell her that enough. For the next coming 2 weeks, you're not exercising, you're not dieting. We're journaling, we're talking.
Because it becomes an obsession.
Yes, it becomes an obsession. Every week, if you're losing weight, you're happy. If you're not losing weight, you're sad. And we had to do that. And every Sunday, I had to call her and call it a debrief session where I had to ask her, how are you feeling about yourself this week? And the funny thing is, when we finished that whole process, she said to me, what have you done to me? I'm looking at sweets and I'm not even moved, because sweets was the thing for her. But it's important for us to deal with the mind before we can even deal with the body. And that's what I'm trying to do.
It sounds like you're doing such a phenomenal job, and well done on that. Just in closing, Moronga, where do I find you if I feel like I think I could be going through what Moronga is explaining when it comes to my relationship with food? How do we get a hold of you?
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and the name is Lose Weight with Moronga. And then email. You can also give me an email at finimongo@gmail.com. But Instagram is the safest, is your safest one, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And keep doing the Lord's work, because we need that. Moronga Mungo joining us here on The Morning Show to speak to us about how we can transform our minds and our bodies to a healthier us.